The click of my heels echoed through the empty boardroom as I paced, rehearsing my presentation one last time. In just 30 minutes, I'd be pitching my vision for the company's future to the board of directors. My mother's company. Soon to be my company. I smoothed my blazer, took a deep breath, and glanced at my reflection in the window. "You've got this, Grace," I whispered to myself. The door swung open, startling me. My mother, Victoria, strode in, her presence commanding as always. "Grace, darling, are you ready?" I nodded, forcing a smile. "As ready as I'll ever be." She approached, her eyes scanning me critically. "Remember, these men have known you since you were in pigtails. You need to show them you're not that little girl anymore." "I know, Mom. I've prepared for this my entire life." Victoria's lips tightened. "This isn't just about preparation. It's about presence. Confidence. Show any weakness and they'll eat you alive." I bristled at her words but kept my composure. "I won't let you down. See that you don't." She turned to leave, then paused. "Oh, and Grace, don't forget the charity gala tonight. It's crucial for networking." I suppressed a groan. "Of course, Mom. I'll be there." As the door closed behind her, I let out a long breath. The weight of expectations pressed down on me, threatening to crush my resolve. But I couldn't falter. Not now. The presentation went better than I'd hoped. I could see the impressed looks on the board members' faces as I outlined my plans for expanding into sustainable energy markets. Even my mother's stoic expression softened slightly. As we filed out of the boardroom, congratulations ringing in my ears, my assistant, Sarah, approached. "Miss Thompson, there's a call for you. It's about the gala tonight." I frowned. "Can it wait? I need to prep for the event." Sarah hesitated. "It's the event planner. There's been a mix-up with the catering." I closed my eyes, counting to 10. "Fine. I'll take it in my office." 20 minutes later, I hung up the phone, my head throbbing. The caterer had double-booked, leaving us without food for 500 guests. I'd managed to find a last-minute replacement, but at twice the cost. A knock at my door interrupted my thoughts. "Come in," I called, massaging my temples. To my surprise, it was Jack, one of the younger board members. "Grace, I just wanted to say your presentation was impressive. You've clearly put a lot of thought into the company's future." I smiled, genuinely this time. "Thank you, Jack. That means a lot." He leaned against the doorframe, his expression turning serious. "Listen, I know Victoria can be intense, but don't let her push you too hard. You're doing great." I blinked, caught off guard by his kindness. "I appreciate that, really." As Jack left, I felt a small weight lift from my shoulders. Maybe I wasn't alone in this after all. The gala was in full swing when I arrived, fashionably late due to the catering crisis. I plastered on my best smile and dove into the crowd, shaking hands and making small talk. An hour in, I found myself at the bar, desperately in need of a breather. As I waited for my drink, a deep voice beside me said, "You look like you could use a real conversation." I turned to see a handsome man with kind eyes and an easy smile. "Is it that obvious?" I asked, laughing. He grinned. "Only to a fellow sufferer of small talk fatigue. I'm Dylan." "Grace," I replied, shaking his offered hand. "So Dylan, what brings you to this thrilling event?" His eyes twinkled with mischief. "Oh, you know, the usual. Networking, schmoozing, pretending to care about golf handicaps." I couldn't help but laugh. For the first time that night, I felt myself relax. "Well, in that case, want to join forces? We could save each other from boring conversations." Dylan's smile widened. "I thought you'd never ask." As we clinked glasses, I felt a spark of excitement. Maybe this night wouldn't be a total disaster after all. Little did I know, that moment would change everything. I couldn't believe how quickly 6 months had flown by. Dylan had become a constant in my life, a whirlwind of charm and excitement that swept me off my feet. But as I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting my dress for our dinner date, a nagging doubt crept into my mind. "You're being ridiculous," I muttered to my reflection. "He's perfect." The doorbell rang, and I hurried to answer it. Dylan stood there, looking dashing in a tailored suit, a bouquet of roses in his hand. "For the most beautiful woman in the world," he said, handing me the flowers. I felt my cheeks flush. "You're too much, you know that?" He grinned. "Never too much for you, Grace." At the restaurant, a cozy Italian place we'd discovered on our third date, Dylan seemed distracted. He kept fidgeting with his napkin, his eyes darting around the room. "Is everything okay?" I asked, reaching for his hand across the table. He took a deep breath. "Grace, there's something I need to ask you." My heart skipped a beat. Was this it? Was he going to? Dylan slid out of his chair and dropped to one knee beside me. The entire restaurant fell silent. "Grace Thompson, you are the most incredible woman I've ever met. You're brilliant, driven, and kind. I can't imagine spending another day without you by my side. He pulled out a velvet box, opening it to reveal a stunning diamond ring. Will you marry me? I gasped, tears welling in my eyes. Dylan, yes, of course I'll marry you. The restaurant erupted in applause as Dylan slipped the ring onto my finger and pulled me into a passionate kiss. Later that night, as we celebrated with champagne at my apartment, reality began to set in. Have you told your mother yet? Dylan asked, his arm draped around my shoulders. I winced. Not yet. I should probably do that soon, huh? He squeezed my hand. Want me there for moral support? I shook my head. I appreciate it, but I think this is something I need to do alone. The next morning, I steeled myself as I walked into my mother's office. Victoria looked up from her computer, her eyebrow arching at my unscheduled visit. Grace, what's going on? I took a deep breath. Mom, I have some news. Dylan proposed last night, and I said yes. Victoria's face remained impassive. I see. And you're sure about this? I felt a flare of irritation. Yes, Mom, I'm sure. She leaned back in her chair, studying me. You've only known him for 6 months, Grace. Don't you think this is a bit hasty? I love him, Mom. He supports me in my career. Isn't that what you've always wanted for me? Victoria sighed. I want you to be happy, darling, but I also want you to be careful. Have you discussed a prenup? I felt my cheeks burn. Mom, we're not even thinking about that right now. Well, you should be, she said firmly. You have a lot to protect, Grace. The company, your future. I stood up abruptly. I can't believe you're making this about business. Can't you just be happy for me? As I stormed out of her office, I heard her call after me. Grace, wait! But I didn't stop. I was too angry, too hurt by her lack of enthusiasm. That evening, as I recounted the conversation to Dylan, he listened sympathetically. She's just looking out for you, babe, he said, rubbing my back. But hey, if it makes you feel better, I'd be happy to sign a prenup. I'm not marrying you for your money. I looked up at him, feeling a rush of love. You'd do that? He kissed my forehead. Of course, I'd do anything for you, Grace. As I snuggled into his embrace, I felt my doubts melt away. This was right. We were right. But a small voice in the back of my mind whispered a warning. Was I moving too fast? Was I letting my heart overrule my head? I pushed the thoughts aside. This was my happily ever after, and nothing was going to ruin it, not even my mother's disapproval. Little did I know, the real challenges were yet to come. The honeymoon glow faded faster than I ever imagined possible. 6 months into our marriage, I found myself staring at Dylan across our kitchen island, wondering if I'd made a terrible mistake. What do you mean you quit your job? I asked, my voice barely of a whisper. Dylan shrugged, taking a sip of his morning coffee. I've been thinking about it for a while, babe. That place was sucking the life out of me. I need to find my true passion. I felt my jaw clench. And how exactly do you plan to do that? He flashed me that charming smile that used to make my heart flutter. Now it just made my stomach churn. I thought I'd take some time to explore my options. Maybe do some traveling, take a few classes, find myself. Find yourself? I echoed, incredulity creeping into my tone. Dylan, we just bought this house. We have bills to pay. He waved his hand dismissively. We'll be fine. You make more than enough to cover everything. Plus, think of how much happier I'll be. Isn't that what matters? I felt a surge of anger rise in my chest. What matters is that we're supposed to be partners. We made plans together. How am I supposed to focus on my career when I'm worried about supporting us both? Dylan's expression darkened. So that's what this is about? Your precious career? I thought you married me, not your job. That's not fair, I shot back. You knew how important my work was to me. You said you supported that. He stood up abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. Yeah, well, maybe I'm tired of always coming second to your ambition. As he stormed out of the kitchen, I felt a wave of despair wash over me. This wasn't how it was supposed to be. Over the next few weeks, Dylan's finding himself consisted mainly of sleeping late, binge-watching TV shows, and going out with his friends. Meanwhile, I was working longer hours than ever, trying to keep up with our expenses. One evening, I came home to find Dylan sprawled on the couch, empty beer bottles littering the coffee table. Hey, babe, he slurred, barely looking up from his phone. How was work? I dropped my bag on the floor, too exhausted to even hang it up. Exhausting. Did you even leave the house today? He shrugged. Didn't feel like it. Oh, hey, I ordered some new golf clubs. Hope you don't mind. I felt something snap inside me. Actually, I do mind. Dylan, we can't afford for you to keep spending money like this. We need to talk about our finances. He sat up, his eyes narrowing. What's there to talk about? You make the money, I spend it. Isn't that how this works? No, that's not how this works, I exploded. We're supposed to be a team, but lately I feel like I'm carrying everything while you just coast. Dylan stood up, swaying slightly. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was such a burden to you. Maybe you should have just married your company instead. Maybe I should have, I retorted, instantly regretting the words. His face contorted with anger. Well, if that's how you feel, maybe I should just leave. Maybe you should, I whispered, my voice trembling. We stood there, staring at each other, the weight of our words hanging heavy in the air. Finally, Dylan grabbed his keys and stormed out, slamming the door behind him. I sank onto the couch, burying my face in my hands. How had we gotten here? How had the man I thought was my soulmate turned into this stranger? As tears streamed down my face, I reached for my phone. I needed to talk to someone, anyone who might understand. My finger hovered over my mother's number, but I couldn't bring myself to call her. She'd only say, I told you so. Instead, I dialed Olivia's number. She picked up on the second ring. Grace, what's wrong? Her concerned voice came through the speaker. I took a shaky breath. Olivia, I think my marriage is falling apart. Little did I know, that phone call would set in motion a chain of events that would change my life forever. I sat across from Olivia at our favorite cafe, my hands wrapped tightly around a mug of rapidly cooling coffee. The past few weeks had been a blur of arguments, silent treatments, and sleepless nights. I just don't know what to do anymore, I confessed, my voice barely above a whisper. It's like Dylan's become a completely different person. Olivia reached across the table, squeezing my hand. Oh, honey, I'm so sorry you're going through this. Have you considered? Maybe it's time to end things. I flinched at her words. Divorce? I don't know if I'm ready for that. She leaned in, her eyes filled with concern. Grace, you can't keep living like this. You're miserable. And from what you've told me, Dylan doesn't seem interested in changing. I felt tears prickling at the corners of my eyes. But what if I'm giving up too soon? What if there's still a chance to fix things? Olivia sighed. Look, I know this is hard to hear, but sometimes love isn't enough. You deserve someone who supports your dreams, not someone who drags you down. Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. Deep down, I knew she was right. But the thought of ending my marriage, of admitting defeat, terrified me. Even if I wanted to divorce him, I said, my voice shaking, I don't know if I could afford it. Dylan's been spending money like water. Our savings are practically gone. Olivia's eyes widened. Grace, that's financial abuse. You need to protect yourself. Talk to a lawyer, see what your options are. I nodded, feeling a strange mix of relief and dread. You're right. I need to at least know where I stand legally. As I left the cafe, Olivia's advice echoing in my mind, I felt a newfound determination. It was time to take control of my life again. The next day, I met with a divorce attorney. As she laid out my options, I felt my stomach twist into knots. Based on your income and the length of your marriage, the lawyer explained, Dylan could be entitled to a significant amount of alimony. I felt the blood drain from my face. How significant are we talking? She named a figure that made me feel lightheaded. Of course, this is just an estimate. We'd need to negotiate with Dylan's attorney to reach a final settlement. I left the office in a daze, my mind reeling. How had I let things get so out of hand? When I got home, I found Dylan lounging on the couch, beer in hand. The sight of him, so carefree while I was falling apart, ignited something in me. We need to talk, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. He looked up, annoyance flashing across his face. About what? I took a deep breath. About divorce. Dylan sat up abruptly, his eyes narrowing. Divorce? Are you serious? Yes, I replied, surprised by my own certainty. This isn't working, Dylan. We both know it. He stood up, his face flushing with anger. So that's it? You're just giving up on us? I'm not the one who gave up, I shot back. You checked out of this marriage months ago. Dylan's expression hardened. Fine, if that's what you want, but don't think I'm going to walk away empty-handed. I gave up my career for you, remember? I felt a chill run down my spine at his words. What are you saying? He smirked, a cruel edge to his smile that I'd never seen before. I'm saying, if you want out of this marriage, it's going to cost you. Big time. As he stormed out of the room, I sank onto the couch, my head spinning. I'd known divorce would be difficult, but I never imagined Dylan would be so vindictive. My phone buzzed with a text from Olivia. How did it go with the lawyer? Want to talk? I stared at the message, a sudden wave of exhaustion washing over me. I needed a friend now more than ever. But as I typed out a reply, a nagging doubt crept into my mind. Was I doing the right thing? And more importantly, how far was Dylan willing to go to get what he wanted? Little did I know, the answer to that question would shake the very foundation of my world. The shrill ring of my phone jolted me awake. Bleary-eyed, I fumbled for it on the nightstand, my heart racing when I saw it was my mother's assistant calling. Grace? It's Sarah. You need to come to the hospital right away. Your mother's had a heart attack. The world seemed to tilt on its axis. I threw on clothes, my mind a whirlwind of fear and disbelief. As I raced to the hospital, I realized I hadn't even told Dylan where I was going. Not that he'd care, I thought bitterly. The hospital corridors were a maze of fluorescent lights and antiseptic smells. I found my mother's room, my breath catching in my throat at the sight of her. Victoria, always so strong and imposing, looked small and fragile in the hospital bed. "Mom?" I whispered, approaching cautiously. Her eyes fluttered open. "Grace," she said, her voice weak but still commanding. "We need to talk about the company." I shook my head, fighting back tears. "That can wait. You need to focus on getting better." Victoria's hand shot out, gripping my wrist with surprising strength. "No, it can't wait. I need to know the business will be taken care of if something happens to me." "Mom, please, listen to me," she insisted. "You're ready, Grace. You've been ready for years. I'm officially handing over control of the company to you, effective immediately." I felt the weight of her words settle on my shoulders like a lead blanket. "But what about the board? They've always seen me as your little girl." A ghost of a smile crossed her lips. "They'll learn. You're stronger than you know, Grace. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Not the board, not me, and certainly not that husband of yours." I flinched at the mention of Dylan. "Mom, there's something I need to tell you. Dylan and I were getting divorced." To my surprise, Victoria's expression softened. "Oh, sweetheart, I'm so sorry. I know how much you wanted this marriage to work." Tears spilled down my cheeks. "He's demanding a ridiculous amount in alimony. I don't know what to do." My mother's eyes hardened. "You fight. You're a Thompson. We don't roll over for anyone." As I left the hospital that evening, my head was spinning. I was now the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company, my mother was seriously ill, and my soon-to-be ex-husband was trying to bleed me dry. It felt like too much to bear. When I got home, I found Dylan waiting for me, a smug smile on his face. "Where have you been? I've been trying to reach you all day." "My mother's in the hospital," I snapped. "Not that you care." His smile faltered for a moment before returning, even wider. "Actually, I do care. Because this changes things, doesn't it? With your mom out of commission, you're taking over the company, which means your income is about to skyrocket." I felt a chill run down my spine. "How did you know about that?" Dylan shrugged. "I have my sources. The point is, our divorce settlement just got a lot more interesting." In that moment, something inside me snapped. I was done being manipulated, done being taken advantage of. "You want my money so badly? Fine, but you're going to have to fight me for every penny." His eyes narrowed. "Is that a threat?" "No," I said, my voice steady. "It's a promise." As Dylan stormed out, slamming the door behind him, a plan began to form in my mind. If he wanted to play dirty, I could play dirty too. I picked up my phone, dialing my lawyer's number. "It's Grace Thompson," I said when she answered. "I need your help with something. How do we go about hiding assets in a divorce?" There was a pause on the other end. "Grace, that's a dangerous game. Are you sure you want to go down this road?" I took a deep breath, thinking of my mother in the hospital, of Dylan's smug face, of everything I'd worked so hard for. "Yes," I said firmly. "I'm sure." As I hung up the phone, I felt a mix of determination and fear. I was about to enter uncharted territory, risking everything I'd built. But I was done being a victim. It was time to take control of my life, no matter the cost. Little did I know, the decision I'd just made would set in motion a chain of events that would change everything. The boardroom fell silent as I finished my presentation. I could feel the weight of every eye on me, scrutinizing, judging. I'd just proposed a radical restructuring of the company, one that would significantly reduce our short-term profits, but position us for long-term growth. "Thank you, Miss Thompson," Mr. Hawthorne, the head of the board, said slowly. That was unexpected." I forced a smile, my heart pounding. "Change often is, Mr. Hawthorne, but it's necessary if we want to stay competitive." As the board members filed out, whispering among themselves, I caught snippets of their conversations. "Too risky," one muttered. She's in over her head, another said. I gripped the edge of the table, fighting back a wave of nausea. This was my chance to prove myself, to show that I was more than just Victoria Thompson's daughter. And I was blowing it. My phone buzzed insistently. Dylan. Again. I'd been dodging his calls for weeks, ever since I'd started implementing my plan. With a sigh, I answered, "What is it, Dylan?" His voice was sharp, angry. "What the hell are you playing at, Grace? I just got the latest financial reports. The company's profits are tanking." I closed my eyes, taking a deep breath. "It's a temporary setback. We're restructuring." "Bullshit," he spat. "You're trying to screw me over in the divorce. Well, it won't work. I'm entitled to half of everything, including future earnings." "We'll see about that," I said coolly, ending the call before he could respond. As I gathered my things, my assistant Sarah poked her head in. "Miss Thompson? There's someone here to see you. Says it's urgent." I frowned. "I don't have any more appointments today." "She says she's an old friend, Olivia." My blood ran cold. Olivia. I hadn't spoken to her in weeks. Not since I'd started suspecting her true motives. "Send her in," I said, steeling myself. Olivia swept into the room, all designer clothes and perfect makeup, but there was something off about her smile, a nervousness in her eyes. "Grace, darling," she cooed. "We need to talk." I crossed my arms. "About what?" She perched on the edge of my desk, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "I know what you're doing, with the company, with Dylan. It's clever, really, but dangerous." I felt my pulse quicken. "I don't know what you're talking about." Olivia's smile turned predatory. "Oh, I think you do. You're tanking the company's profits to reduce Dylan's divorce settlement. But what you don't know is that Dylan's been recording your conversations. He has proof of your plan." The room seemed to spin. "You're lying," I whispered. She shook her head. "I wish I were, but don't worry, I'm here to help. For a price, of course." Rage bubbled up inside me. "Help? Like you helped me before, by sleeping with my husband and manipulating me into divorce?" Olivia's eyes widened in shock. "How did you—" "Get out," I snarled. "Now." As the door slammed behind her, I sank into my chair, my mind reeling. Dylan had evidence. If he went public, I'd lose everything. The company, my reputation, my freedom. My phone buzzed again. A text from Dylan. "Meet me at the house in an hour. We need to talk." I stared at the message. I was feeling trapped. If I went, I'd be walking into a trap. If I didn't, he'd probably go straight to the authorities. With shaking hands, I dialed my lawyer's number. "It's Grace," I said when she answered. "I need your help. Things have escalated." As I explained the situation, I could hear the gravity in my lawyer's voice. "Grace, this is serious. We're talking potential fraud charges. You need to be very careful about your next move." I ended the call, feeling more alone than ever. My mother was still in the hospital, the board was losing faith in me, and now this. It felt like my entire world was crumbling around me. But as I stood up, smoothing my skirt and squaring my shoulders, I felt a spark of determination. I'd come too far to give up now. Whatever Dylan had planned, whatever he thought he knew, I had to face it head on. With a deep breath, I grabbed my keys. It was time to confront Dylan, and with him, the consequences of every choice I'd made. As I walked out of my office, I couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. For better or worse, the next few hours would determine the course of the rest of my life. The moment I stepped into our old house, I knew something was wrong. The air felt thick with tension, and Dylan's smug sent chills down my spine. Well, well," he drawled, lounging on the couch we'd picked out together. "If it isn't the brilliant businesswoman herself." I steeled myself, refusing to show weakness. "What do you want, Dylan?" He stood, circling me like a predator. "Oh, I think you know. I want what's rightfully mine." "We've been through this," I said, fighting to keep my voice steady. "The divorce settlement was a joke," he spat, "based on lies. Your lies, Grace." My heart raced. He couldn't know. Could he? I forced a laugh. "What are you talking about?" Dylan's eyes glinted dangerously. "Don't play dumb. It doesn't suit you. I know all about your little scheme. Tanking the company's profits to reduce my settlement? Clever, but illegal." I felt the blood drain from my face. "You have no proof." "Don't I?" He pulled out his phone, tapping the screen. My own voice filled the room, discussing the plan with my lawyer. I felt my knees go weak. "How did you—" "Get this." Dylan finished smirking. "Let's just say I had some help. From a mutual friend." As if on cue, Olivia stepped out from the shadows of the hallway. My stomach churned at the sight of her, standing there next to Dylan, a triumphant smile on her face. "You?" I whispered, the pieces finally falling into place. "You've been working together all along." Olivia shrugged, not even bothering to deny it. Sorry, darling, it's just business. Rage bubbled up inside me. Business? You were my friend. I trusted you. And that was your mistake, Dylan cut in. Now, here's what's going to happen. You're going to transfer half of your company's shares to me, plus a very generous alimony package. Otherwise, this recording goes straight to the police and the board of directors. I felt cornered, trapped. Everything I'd worked for, everything I'd sacrificed, was about to be ripped away. But as I looked at their smug faces, something inside me snapped. No, I said, my voice stronger than I felt. Dylan's smile faltered. What did you say? I said no, I repeated, standing taller. Go ahead, release the recording. I'll face the consequences of my actions, but I won't let you blackmail me. Dylan's face contorted with fury. He lunged forward, grabbing my arm. You stupid bitch! Do you have any idea what I could do to you? Suddenly, a new voice cut through the tension. I think that's quite enough, Mr. Thompson. We all whirled around to see my mother, Victoria, standing in the doorway, flanked by 2 police officers. Mom? I gasped. What are you doing here? Victoria's eyes were steel as she surveyed the scene. Saving you from yourself, apparently. Officers, I believe you heard enough to make an arrest? As the police moved to handcuff Dylan and Olivia, my mother turned to me, her expression a mix of disappointment and concern. We need to talk, Grace. About the company, about your actions, about everything. I nodded, feeling a strange mix of relief and dread. The immediate danger had passed, but I knew the real reckoning was yet to come. As Dylan and Olivia were led away, shouting threats and accusations, I sank onto the couch, my head spinning. How had it come to this? How had I let myself be manipulated, first by Dylan, then by my own fear and desperation? Victoria sat beside me, her voice softer now. I know you thought you were protecting yourself, protecting the company. But this isn't the way, Grace. We Thompson women don't hide or scheme. We face our challenges head on. I looked up at her, tears stinging my eyes. I've ruined everything, haven't I? She shook her head. No, not everything. But you've got a long road ahead of you. Are you ready to face it? As I met my mother's gaze, I felt a spark of the determination that had driven me all these years. The path forward wouldn't be easy, but I was done running, done hiding. Yes, I said firmly. I'm ready. Little did I know, the biggest challenges were yet to come, but for the first time in months, I felt a glimmer of hope. Whatever lay ahead, I would face it with honesty and courage. It was time to reclaim my life, my company, and my future. The courtroom buzzed with tension as I took the stand. Months of legal battles had led to this moment. Dylan and Olivia sat at the defendant's table, their faces a mix of anger and fear. My mother, Victoria, watched from the gallery, her expression unreadable. Miss Thompson, my lawyer began, please tell the court about the events leading up to your divorce. I took a deep breath, my voice steady as I recounted the betrayal, the manipulation, and yes, my own misguided attempts at protecting myself. As I spoke, I saw the jury's expressions shift from skepticism to understanding. When it was the defense's turn, Dylan's lawyer pounced. Isn't it true, Miss Thompson, that you deliberately misrepresented your company's finances to reduce Mr. Thompson's divorce settlement? I felt a moment of panic, but then I remembered my mother's words. Thompson women face challenges head-on. Yes, I admitted, my voice clear. I did, and I regret that decision deeply. I was scared and desperate, but that doesn't excuse my actions. A murmur ran through the courtroom. I caught Dylan's eye, saw the surprise there. He hadn't expected honesty. As the trial progressed, the full extent of Dylan and Olivia's conspiracy came to light. Financial records, text messages, and witness testimonies painted a damning picture of their greed and deceit. When the verdict was finally read, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. Dylan and Olivia were found guilty of fraud and blackmail. They would face hefty fines and potential jail time. As for me, the judge took my honesty and cooperation into account, sentencing me to community service and a fine. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed us. Victoria stepped forward, her arm around my shoulders. My daughter made mistakes, she said firmly, but she's owned up to them. Now, we're focused on moving forward and rebuilding trust in our company and our family. In the weeks that followed, I threw myself into damage control. I met with the board, laying out a plan to recover from the financial hit we'd taken. It wouldn't be easy, but I was determined to prove myself. One evening, as I was working late in my office, there was a knock at the door. To my surprise, it was Jack, the board member who had been kind to me all those months ago. I hear you're looking for new board members, he said, a small smile on his face. I nodded. Wary? We are. Why? because I think I know someone who'd be perfect. She's tough, ethical, and knows this company inside and out. It took me a moment to realize he was talking about me. Jack, I don't think. He held up a hand. Grace, you've made mistakes, but you've also shown incredible resilience and integrity. That's exactly what this company needs right now. Tears pricked at my eyes. Thank you, I whispered. As Jack left, I sat back in my chair, overwhelmed by emotion. For the first time in what felt like forever, I allowed myself to feel hope. The next morning, I called a company-wide meeting. As I stood at the podium, facing my employees, I felt a surge of determination. I know the past few months have been difficult, I began. I've let you down, and for that, I'm truly sorry. But I promise you this. From this day forward, Thompson Industries will operate with complete transparency and integrity. We have a long road ahead, but together we can rebuild this company into something we can all be proud of. The applause that followed was tentative at first, then grew stronger. As I looked out at the sea of faces, I saw something I hadn't expected. Faith. They were willing to give me a second chance. Later that day, I visited my mother at home. She was recovering well, her strength returning day by day. I'm proud of you, Grace, she said, squeezing my hand. You've faced your demons and come out stronger. I smiled, feeling a peace I hadn't known in years. I learned from the best. As I left my mother's house, the setting sun painted the sky in shades of pink and gold. I took a deep breath, savoring the moment. The road ahead would be challenging, but for the first time in a long time, I was ready to face it. I had lost my marriage, my trust in others, and nearly my integrity. But in the process, I had found something far more valuable, myself. And that, I realized, was the greatest victory of all. With a smile on my face and determination in my heart, I headed back to the office. There was work to be done, a company to rebuild, and a future to create. And this time, I would do it right.